Check, mic check, 1, 2. Levels good.
Hello.
She said hello.
Well, you already did the check. You did the check, Mike. You already took it.
You can copy that.
Hey, I was like, why are you stealing that
stole
stretch?
mine.
That was my only thing, and that's all I had.
You stole my 1, 2 check.
You did.
Same Z's. Good levels. You recording, Rambo? All right.
This is very big time, sir.
It's not big time.
I think it's
but it is a good time.
Like I might bring the kids on a field trip here. I might be like, can we do a field trip?
We got a field trip planned here with the Coburn place. Yeah.
Oh, you do? Yeah, they would. I have a lot of students that are crazy, just techie savvy. Like it's cool. Well, like even me walking around. It's
all
super
you do
cool.
is contact Tim, and they'll
set it up.
Yeah, they'll set it up. Yeah.
Maybe some of my high schoolers.
Yeah, for sure. We good?
We're good, man.
All right. Let's do what we do. Welcome everybody to the Follow D Money podcast. This week I have a friend on the show. Normally I have people who are friends, but this is more like family to me. I have the executive director of the Independence Academy, Mrs. Marisa Gill.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you for coming.
Thrilled to be here.
Thank you for coming. I think I will let you know why I invited you, because I think that what you do and what you guys do at the Independence Academy is very important for our times today and our evolving times is very important. And I had a talk with my boy Rambo over there, and he thought that it would be a great idea to have you on. And when we throw events, we like to donate money. So we would love to have you guys as one of our charities. So we'll just lead with that.
Well, thank you. And we would certainly appreciate that. So
Right.
I am thrilled to be here. So thank you so much for asking me and for thinking of me. And certainly thank you for thinking of us, because we are small and we're a nonprofit. So we are always grateful for any help we receive. So thank you, and recognition as well. So that's great that you're having me here. I really do appreciate it for my sake and the school's sake.
Thank you for coming. Right now, I want to ask, what is your background? What is your educational background? Where did you come from? And let's just start with that.
Great question. So great question. Interesting answer. I actually have a human resources degree.
Okay.
And communications. So that is what I went to school for. However, many years ago, I chose to work in the education system because that is what I love. You know me well. I love children.
Yep.
I think we all have our gifts, and I do think that is kind of what I was here for. So when my children were still very young, they're in college now, I started working in schools then. And this particular job came about. It just really was. It was kind of just one of those crazy things. Someone knew me and had seen me working for years. I was working in special education. And, she literally just said, it was a board member of the school at the time, would you ever consider doing this?
Yeah.
So it just, when I say just dropped out of the sky, kind of dropped out of the sky, met the co-founders, these two amazing women who have sons on the spectrum. They said, hey, will you come and tour the school? Toured the school, fell in love with the kids. And then, here we are 8 years later.
Yeah. So 8 years ago.
8 years ago. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And for people who aren't familiar with the Independence Academy, explain to them what it is.
Absolutely. So the Independence Academy is a school. We are a nonprofit, state-accredited school, and we specifically serve students on the autism spectrum in grades 4 through 12. And so it's quite a big age range. But what we do is we focus on the academics. That's incredibly important to us. Our students graduate with their high school diploma, just like any child would in the state of Indiana.
Yep.
However, we have an additional focus on life and social skills.
Okay.
And I think sometimes people assume when you say that you're talking about learning to wash your clothes. And it's not to say we're not learning those type of life skills, but for a lot of my students, it's that social communication piece.
Right.
How do we communicate with, relate to, engage in appropriate social interactions with others?
Right.
And that's really critical because I've had kiddos come through that, they're geniuses, but they have to know how to sit down and have a conversation with someone, how to do an interview, how to maybe not say whatever's in your head and maybe just not let it come out if it's not appropriate or if it's not kind. And so that's a huge part of what we do.
Dang, that seems pretty tough.
It is tough, but it's also very rewarding because for our students, it certainly doesn't come naturally.
Mm-hmm.
But, they can learn. And so even though it might not be a natural instinct to know how to make eye contact or to engage in a conversation, just like anything else, it's a skill that can be taught. And we work really, really hard to teach the kids and to work on that. And then the other big piece is what we call self-regulation, just meaning like you or I know if we're with a coworker and, we are just not feeling them that day or we're upset or whatever the case may be, we know, hey, take a breath, count to 10, step away, or don't say what you're thinking.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And those are the kind of things we teach the kids. Hey, start to recognize what is your emotion, how are you feeling, and how are we going to handle this?
Yes.
Because we can't just, we can't just scream or we can't just, we have to work through this stuff. And we all have to do that.
I think
I
have coworkers that need to go to the Independence Academy. They just scream.
And that doesn't work, right?
No,
that doesn't work.
It doesn't help anything.
No, it doesn't.
I think they missed it. I don't know how they graduated. So you did say that you go from grade 4 to 12.
Yes.
What is the criteria to go there? Do you just have to be anywhere on the spectrum?
So really a great question. The students are all diploma track, but I don't want to give the impression that all students are the same. They're all their own unique individuals.
Yep.
And so I'm a big believer in special education students have something called an individual education plan.
Yep.
And I'm not a person who wants to judge a child by looking at a paper.
Yeah.
And so I'm a huge believer in if you take that same child, you put them in a different environment, a specialized environment like ours. We only have about 6 kids per class.
Okay.
That's what the kid, that's what works. And that would work for any child, to be really honest.
Yep.
So I certainly, when I interview a family or when a family comes and they tour the school or a child shadows, we look at all of that previous information. We look at the IEP, but I never make a decision based solely upon that because I've seen children who on paper, you can tell reading that, like how their former educators feel about this child.
Right.
And I hate to say that. That
Right.
hurts my heart.
Yeah.
But the truth is sometimes they just need somebody to believe in them. They need a new space. They need a fresh start. And that's what we are for many of our students.
Yeah. And it is possible that they had terrible people looking out for them. It's possible. You know what I'm saying? I mean, some people just can't handle them.
Yeah. Well, and that's an interesting thing. I think that there's so many amazing people, amazing teachers, amazing schools for sure. But I do think, you do come across people every once in a while. I mean, I'm not going to lie.
Just trying to get a check.
Years ago, I thought, now, I'm not quite sure how you ended up being a teacher, but this is not for you.
Yeah, no.
But that is not the majority. I mean, I don't want to
okay.
ever speak ill of because I think teachers are the most amazing, phenomenal people, obviously.
Oh, teachers are great.
Yeah.
We need teachers, but we also need special needs teachers.
Yes.
Yes.
And I do think it's I do think it's something that you either a skill that you have that is innate and a part of who you are or who you don't. So I tell people when I'm hiring teachers, hey, you could have a PhD and that's great. But if I don't think you can relate to a child and that you can emotionally connect and make that child feel safe and secure, I'll hire the person who just graduated and maybe doesn't have that level of education or experience, but they have the right heart is what I call it.
Yep. I do believe that people are born with abilities and being a teacher is an ability. Like you might be a great athlete, but you also could be an educator, like a born educator or someone, an orator, like someone that can teach people. And when you're a teacher, especially teaching special needs, I think that you have to have this kind of calming, welcoming, warm kind of sensation. So do you do the hiring there?
I do.
You do hire?
I do.
So are you looking for all that? Like it's probably a real intense interview. I know, like I've talked to you before.
Intense but friendly.
Yes, very friendly, very friendly.
Yeah, I do. I do all the hiring. So I wear a few different hats. But again, I think it's really important that the teacher understands the mission of the school, what we're about, the children and families that we serve, and vice versa. So I have amazing teachers because you are going to be a very special person because you do have to have a different level of understanding and just patience and compassion. And I mean, my teachers, they are working hard. All teachers are working hard.
Yes.
But for sure, it is a gift. I think there's a gift in it.
Yeah. And it's like one of those thankless jobs.
Oh, so much so.
Yeah. But it's special people that do that stuff. I commend them.
Yeah, very much so. And we're very fortunate and blessed because a lot of our families, their prior experience has been rough, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And so they get to us. And I mean, I literally have parents that call a few weeks in and are like, Marissa, oh my gosh, they have friends and they'll go to school in the morning and they're not crying and all, you hear these horror stories, these things that just break your heart.
Yeah.
And finally they have a place where they feel like they belong.
Yeah.
And so that's really what we're about because everybody wants to belong and everybody wants to fit in. And unfortunately, a lot of times my students are kind of the odd man out in a different environment or different scenario or kind of just fly under the radar.
8 years. You guys have been open 8 years, right?
No, we've been open more than 8 years.
Oh, okay.
I'll be going into my ninth.
Ninth.
I think they were open 4 years before I got there.
Okay.
And I think they had a few directors before me.
Have you had people go from the 4th all the way to the 12th?
Not from 4th to 12th in my time because we just opened up to 4th last year. So that is something that I want for people to know. I don't know that they realize that we've dropped down a grade. But for sure, the first year that I had, from when I got there, kids that went from like 6th to 12th, it's an emotional night. Like to see them, to give them their diploma and for them to walk across the stage. It's a pretty amazing thing. So a lot of the kids stay with us the entire time.
Do you guys stay with them beyond IA?
Well, we do because we're such a small school. We really keep a close tab on where the kids are at and what they're doing.
Yep.
And that gives you a different sense of pride because with autism, developmentally, as we all are as humans, you continue to grow and change.
Yep.
But even up into your 20s, you continue to see this growth and this change. And so there's so many of the kids, it's craziness. Like a couple of my boys who've been graduated for 3 years, they just got an apartment of their own.
Oh, wow.
So two of my boys, and they both got their driver's license. So yes, older than what would be considered typical, but that's huge. And one of them has this, he's welding, and that's something we started while he was in high school, and he's making good money and he's doing a good thing. So I mean, it's huge.
So it helps with all the social skills, how to get a job, how to keep a job.
Yes.
Does social media play a factor in that? Do you guys teach them how to handle social media? Because it's huge in life.
It's huge. It certainly is huge. And we really try to. So it's not uncommon for my students in particular, and probably all kids right now, it's really not uncommon that they're quite tech savvy or they like to be on the computer, which I kind of guess is all kids now.
Yep.
But, there have been some situations throughout the years where you have to break it down for the kids and say like, hey, we're not going to talk to so-and-so and all these anonymous people out there. They're not necessarily your friends, nor do they necessarily, have good intentions. You don't want to scare the kids, but there's a lot going on out there for all of our children.
Yep.
And we want them to know how to manage and understand and handle that.
Good. So. What would you say is the most rewarding part about your job?
The most rewarding part, gosh, there's so many things, but you can name a few. Yeah, no, I will. So this is going to sound kind of weird, but to see any child, like whatever success is for them, to see them achieve and accomplish those goals, that's to me is what's most rewarding. So, I just told you about a couple of the boys that I had graduate, but a lot of times it's that, hey, they've made a friendship and they're learning how to talk to somebody, like the simple things that we take for granted, or, going on to college when maybe their parents or them or whoever, they might have been told along the way, like, hey, you're not going to get there. And we're not that place. We're going to believe in you and give you every opportunity because there's no reason to assume that you can't.
Yep.
And so when they do, and it could be anything, but when they do, that's what's so rewarding.
Nice.
That's where you just really, it just kind of hits you in the heart.
Yep.
So
do you guys have a maximum capacity? Like what did you guys what is your student rate? Like how many students do you have now?
Yeah. So we always hover around 40 to 50. We currently lease space. But we are, since I'm here, I'll throw it on out there. We are looking to acquire a new building and a new space, because if you know anything about autism statistics, even in the greater Indianapolis area, there's thousands of students that need a school like ours.
Right.
And so we're in the process now. And you know this well, I'm the director, but also our lead fundraisers. So we coordinate events.
You wear many hats.
I wear many hats, and I'm happy to do it. But that is our next big goal, because the space we're in now.
You're raising money to buy another building.
We are.
Okay.
Because we've been leasing a building. It's at the top floor of a church, the second and third floor actually, and we're kind of the only ones in there for the most part.
Yep.
But it's just we can only carry so many students within that space, and so the goal is to have a larger space, to be able to even further specialize. We have what are called sensory rooms at our school. So that's something that's really important. We incorporate exercise. That's really important to me personally, that our students are engaged and active, and it helps them. And so there's just a lot of things on our wish list.
Right.
So eventually a bigger space, an outdoor space, gym, all of those amazing things we want for the students.
Like basically a whole new location, really.
Yes.
Yeah. But
Yes.
I mean that's what you raise money for, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's
and
exactly.
So that is the goal for growth, is a whole new building, right? And
Is a whole new building, and then the ability to serve more students, because we know there are so many students that really need an environment like ours.
And you guys do something to raise money every year.
We do.
Yeah.
We do a few things. So the pandemic was rough on us,
Right.
but we do have a big gala event every year.
Yep.
And I'm really grateful, because as small as the school is, I have great friends like you. My husband's amazing. Like, he unofficially works for us.
Yep.
And so the community really comes together.
Good.
And I've been to my share of black tie gala fundraising events, and we really do put on a great event that's fun. Like, to me, it's important that it's fun too.
Yeah.
So great.
It's always themed.
It's always themed.
Yeah.
We want to make it, you know me, we want to make it fun. So we know how to throw a good party as well. And it's for such a good thing.
When is the gala this year?
The gala this year is March 19th, a night in Morocco, held at the Renaissance Hotel in Carmel.
Okay.
And actually, you can, if you go to our website, which is iaindiana.org, we actually just started opening up ticket
right
sales.
now?
Yeah,
Okay.
ticket sales, sponsorships, all of those things. And we end up getting, just amazing people and amazing sponsors every year, which is a great thing.
We're going to go back to that too. We're going to go back to it. But I also had a question about like parents. We're around the same age. I'm way older than you, but
way older
so
than me
much
for
older.
sure.
I'm so much older than you. But me growing up, we had the conversation before. Like, there were probably family members or even friends that I grew up with that could have been on the spectrum, and I feel like there are some parents that may be ashamed, or they don't know how to approach that their child may have autism or something like it. And what is your advice to those parents, just so that they can get the kind of help that they need for their children?
No, I'm really glad that you're asking that question, because that actually is more common than you think.
Yeah.
And I think as parents, we're all, people are naturally protective of their children,
Right.
which is understandable. And people oftentimes are so afraid of a label. And I get that. I get it. I'm a mama. I understand that. At the same time, my most important piece of advice to people and parents, and just in general, if there is something, if your child's on the spectrum or any type of special need that your child might have, or even special gift, the sooner identify and understand that, the more difference you can make in that child's life.
Yeah.
And so if you think about if something is a struggle for a child or something is genuinely hard for your child, we all want to help our children, right?
Yep.
We all want for them to be successful. And I wish parents would think of it in that way, because the sooner the sooner you do interventions with a child on the spectrum, just the further and more successful they'll
Yep.
go in life and that they'll be. And so it is a hard thing for a parent, and I get it. I respect it. I understand it. But at the same time, the best thing you could do for your child is to get them intervention early and to get them on the path of working towards developing and overcoming some of their struggles.
Good. Yep. Great answer. Are there other schools like the Independence Academy around here?
There really isn't. We're so highly specialized. It's just an uncommon thing. There's other great schools that maybe specialize in different areas. And for me, because I worked in special ed for so many years, I struggled with that before I took the job, I'll be honest. I just kept feeling like, oh my gosh, because I was with all kids and all different things.
Yep.
But I really had to sit back and say, like, hey, these kids need help too.
Yeah.
You're still helping, and this is still critically important. But we're very specialized in that way.
Yep.
The students are all on the spectrum, but it isn't uncommon that they have multiple diagnoses. So autism spectrum and ADHD, or autism spectrum mood disorder. So that's very, very common as well.
Okay.
So
all those other things aren't considered on the spectrum. On the spectrum is 100% autism.
typically, and it's, we've grown a lot in what we do. And so it's important for people to realize the spectrum. I mean, it is a huge spectrum. Like,
Yeah.
and if you ever came to the school, like, you would for sure see the difference in the children.
Right.
But I think we've come a long way in identifying and understanding that it's a spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
but also, giving the label to, or the understanding of what might be going on with a child and why they might be struggling in certain areas in certain ways.
Yep. How do you suggest that people like myself, anyone listening, educate themselves? Like, are there any? We talked about some shows like on Netflix or anything. Is there anything that is pretty accurate, or something that I could read, or a podcast, or a series that you say, I'll put my name behind that or this?
Mm-hmm. I actually think there's a lot of great things out now, which is, it's refreshing. And I think it's a way for people to be able to relate to and to better understand. So I think there's a lot of great things that are out there.
Yep.
What I would say to people, though, there's a saying in the autism community: when you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism.
Okay.
Meaning that,
I think I know what
yeah,
that means.
yeah, for sure. So that's kind of a common saying. That being said, though, there are things that I do within the school day, how I schedule our day and when the kids have breaks, that work for the majority of the school and the students. And there's some strategies and techniques that tend to work for all of our students. But I think just the awareness is huge.
Yeah.
So I think, like, when you're talking about these shows, I think it just gives people such a better understanding, because a lot of times people are just afraid of what they don't understand,
Yep.
and or they mislabel it. So they might think, like, people could say, oh, that child is bad, or this person is strange, or all these words. I don't like those words. And I know people, I'm just trying to be direct about what I think people assume or say or think.
Yep.
But those aren't things I really care for. I like to say different is good.
Yep.
And we're all different if we're being honest. So.
Right. Nice. What are your goals? What are your goals? Like, what do you plan on doing? Do you want to stay there? Do you have long-term goals?
It's so funny. So who asks me this all the time are my my 21 and 19-year-old, like, Mom, or you know what? I do want to stay there. So I actually have been approached several times.
Mm-hmm.
And with different organizations, other great organizations, but we've really grown, and I'm really proud of what we've done and what we're trying to build.
Nice.
So I'm very happy where I'm at and with what I'm doing, and I only want to make it better and more accessible and help more people. So I'm in it for the long haul, for sure.
Well, I bet you any parents that were considering going there, they would love to hear that someone is committed like that.
Oh, for sure. I've had it's funny you're saying that. I mean, I flat out one time, a dad said to me, are you staying here? And I said, because you're just meeting someone. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm the director. And he's like, no. are you staying here? Are you
Yeah.
going to be here? Like, I understand what you're saying, what the vision is. Will you be here?
Yep.
And I was like, oh, no, absolutely. So, and I like those direct questions because
Yeah.
I was caught off guard and I was like, oh, that's what you mean.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here.
If you could look a parent that you know their child is on the spectrum and you wanted them to go to IA, what would you tell that parent that didn't want their child to go there? How would you address that?
You know, what I would say is the ultimate goal of any parent, I think, is that your child is happy and successful. And I don't mean successful like, hey, you're making a lot of money or whatever else. And I think when a parent, I think they have to come to the realization that, hey, my kid in this environment, they're floundering, or the social anxiety or the social pressure is just killing them. And so people have a vision of their head of like what a quote unquote normal high school experience would be like.
Yep.
But a lot of times for my students, it's the dead opposite of that, because
Wow.
they're isolated and they're left out or they're labeled by the other students.
Yep.
And then they come into our environment and parents have this fear of like, well, if you're only with students with autism, but the thing is they're with their peers.
Yeah.
So I always say to parent, like, hey, the jocks kind of hang out with the jocks and the music kids hang out with the music kids and the art kids. And I'm all about inclusion and I'm all about branching out. But at the same time, it's really great for a kid to be able to just be themselves,
Yeah.
to just relax, not try to be someone they're not, be their genuine selves and form genuine friendships and bonds. So, you know, with parents, it really to me comes down to your child's happiness.
Yep.
And you know, their self-esteem and their self-confidence, that's going to go a long way in their life. And there's a lot of situations where that's not happening for children.
You guys still see the clicky stuff there too?
No, we don't see it as much here, but it isn't uncommon that when I get a student. So what happens, I'll try to give the short version. A lot of times in elementary school, they have like the same special ed team.
Mm-hmm.
All the kids know them. You know, they maybe have had the same special ed teacher. So they're kind of in this safer cocoon.
Yep.
But the minute you hit middle school, things really start to change. So, you know, so that's when the clickiness in other
Okay.
environments
Yeah.
really kicks in. So middle school, some kids maybe get through middle school, and then in high school, there's that same thing. So it's really common
Yep.
for the students previously to have been bullied or just to have felt like I don't fit in.
Yep.
I'm different. And so we really don't see what we see there is that, you know, they feel like they're amongst their people. They're
Right,
amongst their
right.
peers
They're comfortable.
and they're comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Good.
great way to say it.
Good. Do you guys have anyone on the spectrum on the staff like that work for you guys?
Oh, I am so glad you asked this because I may have forgotten to tell you. Yes, we have an amazing man that I hired this year. His
Nice.
name is Todd Root. He's brilliant.
Yep.
Brilliant, kindest, like most amazing, genuine guy you'll ever meet. So he is over marketing and advancement this year,
Okay.
but I adore him. Like everybody that meets him, he tells it like it is.
Yep.
He didn't speak until he was 7 and,
Wow.
and he's an actual genius.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing. It's so great for my students to be like, hey, Mr. Root, like,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
you're like me and look at you now. So
Yep.
yeah, I have Todd there, awesome guy. Like you'll meet him at some point, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
But throughout the years, I absolutely have tried to hire people on the spectrum because I want to practice what we preach and what we're about.
Good.
So
What do you do for fun? How do you how do you relax? 'Cause it seems like you got a lot going on.
I do have a lot going on. But you know, well, and you know this because you're part of this. I have an amazing family.
Yeah.
Like I have an amazing
do.
family, and there's a whole bunch of us, and that's really, I mean, that's my heart, and
Yeah.
that is what I'm doing. So as I said, I have 2 children in college, but I mean, we are a crew: mom, dad, brothers, sisters,
Yeah.
cousins.
Yeah.
Like we stick together. I know Angelo is Italian; he gets that. I'm an Italian girl. So lots of family stuff, to be honest, and I'm really content with that. Like, you know, when I was like 16, you know, I didn't want to miss out on anything and be
Yeah.
here or there,
Yep.
but I'm super happy. So lots of family stuff and
Yep.
lots of fun that way. Like there's always something every weekend.
Right.
There's
But
some sort of
you also have 2 college athletes, so that
2
takes
college
up
athletes.
that takes up a lot of time.
a lot of time. They are wearing me out, and I'm
Yeah.
supposed to be an empty nester. Yeah, my daughter is a sophomore, and she does track and basketball.
Yep.
And she's a music connoisseur, as you know.
Yep. Yeah.
And then my son is a basketball player as well. And they keep us busy. I try to
Good.
get to as many games as I can. And we, it's like basketball in our house every day,
Yep.
Obviously with my husband's job as well. So lots of sports,
Yeah.
lots of travel.
Yeah. I did want to ask, with your school, how did COVID affect you guys? Did everybody go home? And then how did you guys get back? If you
No, we did. So it was crazy. I mean, I think it was crazy for all of us because we didn't know, we didn't know what was happening.
Right.
And so I had been watching it really closely. I'm a nerd like that.
Yeah.
I'm all over the news.
You want to know what's going on. Yeah.
And I had met with somebody who's really high up in the education world. And I said to this guy, I was like, I think I'm about to shut us down. And he was like, no. And I said, yeah, I think so. And he was like, are you really? And I was like, yeah, I'm really feeling nervous. And I'm not going to be responsible. I have some elderly teachers and I don't want that on my heart or conscience.
Right.
So I shut us down. And luckily the next day, the governor shut everybody down, which helped me so much because I didn't want anyone being like, hey.
He made the decision for you, really.
Yeah, I made it, but then he made it right after. So I was like, Ed, thank you very much. So we went virtual. I was really nervous, but I'm going to say the kids did a great job.
So did you do homeschooling?
Yep,
Yeah.
we did. We did it virtual. And our teachers, again, a blessing because we're so small and we're a small enough school the students start to feel like your own kids. So my parents were great. The students did great. Honestly, much better than I anticipated.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to get us back in. Again, being small turned out to be a blessing.
Yep.
I was really nervous about the kids wearing masks because with autism, there's often sensory issues.
Yeah.
Again, the kids surprised me. They do a really good job with it. So,
we get that
so proud of them.
A lot of parents that fly at the airport, they say that their children can't wear a mask.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they get the health exemption for that.
Mm-hmm. It's not an uncommon thing. But in order to keep everybody safe, it was one of those things where I was like, we have to do this. And so we actually worked with the parents to say, kind of to precondition, pre-train, I don't know the appropriate way of saying it, and sent out videos and tutorials about everything, about mask wearing, hand washing, flow of traffic. I mean, there were so many things when we first got back into school, but the kids, like I said, they did a really good job with it.
Good.
So unexpected and wonderful.
Yeah, good. Would you consider yourself successful?
Would I consider myself successful? Yes, but not necessarily probably in the way you're describing. I'm super proud of my career and the success of the school and so passionate and believe in what I'm doing. But my definition of success probably, that's an important piece of it.
Yeah.
But I would say going back to that family piece and my children, that's what I feel most successful about. It is, and most proud of, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So kind of a little broader definition.
So you're saying that you feel successful as a person more than as a title.
Exactly. And I'm really confident in what I do and so proud of what I have done career wise and with the school and so proud of the school itself and the teachers. But I think it's just as important, the kind of person you are and what's happening with your family and those kind of things. And so I just kind of think of success in a broader way, I guess.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's probably odd, but
is there a definition of autism?
There is a definition, but the thing with autism, it's kind of ever changing in the sense of, it used to be people would like Asperger's and then that term was removed. And it used to be that people would like, some people prefer on the autism spectrum.
Yeah.
Some people prefer autistic person. So some people want to be people first. And it's often a generational thing. You'll find if you speak to people that are older on the spectrum, they might have one preference than somebody else. And so I always just try to be mindful and respectful of the individual, of what makes them feel valued and respected and understood. Okay. So I think it's a broader definition and for sure a spectrum, but I have found generationally, people are very particular about word choice,
I bet.
Which I get.
Yeah, I bet.
But I think most people when they're speaking, I don't think anyone has ill intentions. It's just one of those things.
I asked, was it a definition for it because it almost seems like it's new. So it's evolving. So it's like it shouldn't have a definition.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's so autism is defined as a developmental.
Okay, that's it should just stop right there.
So but like I say, I hate to just kind of like put autism into a box, and I do feel like it's ever changing as far as what the definition is or isn't. But for sure, like you said earlier, when we were growing up, absolutely we knew people on the spectrum, but there wasn't that way to identify, and there wasn't that understanding yet.
Yep.
So I think we've come a long way as a society in that regard.
Yep. Good. Well, I'm glad you came out. I do want you to shout out your gala again. I want you to say the date. Say the date. Give the website so that people can buy tickets, buy tables, buy all that stuff. Sponsor.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So let holler.
I will do. Okay, so we are the Independence Academy, as we spoke about. Our website is www.iaindiana.org.
Yep.
The gala is on March 19th. The theme this year is a night in Morocco.
Yep.
Lots of fun, dinner, dancing, casino. Stretch is usually there. Like you're going to be there, right?
I will be there.
And so we tend to have some local celebrities from the community out. It's really a great time. I mean, it's a lot of fun, and hopefully you can speak about it. I mean, you need to give us a little plug too, because you're there every year.
I will. It is a great event. They have a silent auction.
Mm-hmm.
You guys do that. It's usually great food.
Yes.
R.I.P. DJ Indiana Jones used to be the DJ every year.
Yeah, a very dear friend of ours.
R.I.P. So you'll definitely have to replace
That's a heartbreaker for me. It was a hard thing even starting to plan without him.
Tough.
So such a great guy, and I've known him.
He was a staple there.
Well, yeah, we met Indiana Jones when we first came.
Yeah.
I mean, when we first came here, and so we've known him for nearly 20 years. So that was heartbreaking, and he always donated. And he was always there for the kids. Like you call him up and he's like, absolutely, Marissa, we'll be there.
That's a great guy.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Truly missed.
Absolutely.
So my last question to you. My last question to Marissa.
Okay, be nice. Be nice.
I'm gonna ask you if you could sit and have a conversation like this with anyone that is not family in history. Who would you talk to? Who would you talk to, and why? They could be dead or alive.
Who would I talk to?
And why would you choose that person?
Oh, that's hard. That's really hard. Come on now.
If it's hard, that means it's a lot of people. Just pick one.
Who would I talk to? Gosh, I don't know. I mean, that's hard.
Are you doing it now? Are you? Did you pick me?
Hey,
you won.
Hey, you said not.
Am I the one?
I really don't know. I mean, I think there are so many people who've done so many amazing things throughout history and been influential in different ways. I would want to speak to somebody that I felt like had really affected change.
Okay.
For good and moving us forward. Yeah. Do I know that I'm going to throw out anyone in particular? I don't know. I mean, I really don't know, because I names popping up and I'm like, I don't know. Maybe
the question was name somebody. The question didn't say throw out a general answer.
I know, but I don't know. Who? I don't know. There's a lot of people. I mean,
let me make it easy for you. You're not going to have to sit with them.
I know. I don't know. I mean, Gandhi, Martin Luther King. I mean, there's a lot of people.
So your first answer was Gandhi.
Yeah.
So, okay, Gandhi.
I mean, I went to, and that's probably from my childhood. Like, I'm like, Gandhi, Mother Teresa. I mean,
now let's think about this too.
Folks.
So you picked Gandhi, right?
Yeah.
And Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
Who would be the better interview?
Well, I don't know, because
do you think Gandhi talks?
Listen,
Gandhi don't look like he talks at all.
You don't know. Gandhi has a lot of wisdom.
He does.
You don't know what that man did.
That dude, he looked like he don't talk. Yeah. I'm just saying.
Maybe
I would love to talk to Gandhi too.
His message.
I would love to talk to Gandhi too, but it don't look like Gandhi will talk back.
No,
Martin Luther King, I know he will talk back.
Yeah, Martin Luther King for sure would speak back.
Yes.
This is true.
Yes.
So
if I could sit with anybody right now.
Me, obviously. I'm here.
This moment, yes, Marissa, it would be you.
I'm just
But if I had to pick any person in history that I can talk to.
I'm
right
just gonna
now.
say you've prepped for this, so it's not fair. But
I
go
did
ahead.
not. I did not, because I've never answered this question. But I don't think I've ever answered one of these questions. But I just feel like answering today.
Well, I heard the love like loyal one. I'm glad you didn't hit me with that one.
Oh yeah, love like loyal. That's a good one. That's a good one. But if I had to pick, I would have to say that I would want to sit with probably Malcolm X.
Malcolm X.
Malcolm X.
All right.
I think he was a very complex mind, and he came from a background similar like a lot of people. Like he was just a regular dude, had had challenges, and found religion, but then found that religion wasn't the one, but he found it to become something, and then he evolved. And I think that represents me a lot. Like where I come from, where I went, and then where I am now, I just feel like I evolved into the person that I am. And I think that he would be the most influential person that I can think of. And I literally didn't think of that. I just thought of that right now.
Okay. I'm going to, that's a good answer. I am with you though on the idea of just evolution and evolving. And I'm a big believer in the whole, when you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
And I think, no matter where you come from, there's always another lesson for us out there as we go along in our life.
Because we don't know everything.
No, we don't. We don't know everything, and we always have something else to learn. So, all right. So that was a pretty good answer. Okay. All right.
Well, everybody, please thank Marisa for sitting with me. I'm very thankful for you coming, taking the time out. I appreciate you. I really would like people to go to Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and like, comment, or just leave a review for the podcast. That would be great. We would like to thank Jim Norman and the Sit With Me app for everything that they've done this year, and everyone in the studio. Have a great week. Peace.
Thank you.